back again. We're gonna do some flesh tones now, and this portion of my video is gonna be a little crazy because, as you can see off in the distance back out there, they're doing some logging here and clearing out some of the land, and I think this has disturbed a whole bunch of ladybugs, because we're gonna just turn this around, and that was a ladybug in my eye. All those little dots, those are all ladybugs. They are literally swarming me as we speak. So this is going to be interesting to see how much I can get done without going crazy from these little devils. I might need to break out some kind of bug spray or something, I don't know. It's sorry about that. That was the screen door, because these things they're just everywhere. But alright, anyway, for the flesh colors here, we're going to do some Caucasian flesh tones. And when I do my Caucasian flesh tones, what I like to do is we're going to use a 3-layer system again, like we did with the blue. Alright. Now, got to get these arms and the face in Caucasian colors. Breaking out the Vallejos again, using the Game Extra Opaque Heavy Skin Tone. We're going to use Game Color, the Vallejo Game Color Dwarf Skin. And we're going to use the Vallejo Game Color Skin Wash. Alright? Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of drops of the heavy skin tone, alright, the extra opaque, and I'm going to mix that with some of the flesh wash to get a darker skin tone. It's going to help to create some more of that shadowed illusion that I like to refer to. Alright? So, we've put just a little bit in there. Alright? These ladybugs really are going to drive me crazy today. Now, the dropper system here is going to let me control my drops. I'm going to add 5 or so drops. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright? And that's going to help, because what that is it's basically wet pigment. And that extra pigment is going to help me darken the color a lot. That darkened color is going to look like those deep shadows that you get in skin tones. Alright? So you see, this is what we've got going here. Now this is going to be pretty much just a base coat is what we're going to do. So I don't have to worry about detailing this too much. And I am just getting attacked by ladybugs here. This is so crazy. Alright. I'm not worried about details at all. I just need to stay in the lines, basically. Tracing the inside of his mask around the mouth. And making sure that it's going on in a thin enough coat so as not to lose the details in the face. These ladybugs are something else. Alright, so there we go. The first layer of paint on the face is in. We're going to do the same thing with the arms. Now what I'm going to do with him is I'm going to cheat a little tiny bit here. Alright, I am not going to paint the shoulder wheels on this figure. And I don't generally like to paint my shoulder wheels because a factory figure usually doesn't have the shoulder wheels painted. The reason for that is that it'll just scrape off anyway. Some customizers like to get in there and they'll break them apart and they'll sand it all down, and and I have been known to do that before. But because of the way this figure assembles, that's not really going to work for our needs here. So we're just going to do it like this. And now what I'm seeing is that my paint is still going on a little thicker than I want it to. So I'm going to wet my brush. I'm going to start a new pool, and I'm going to mix it and thin it some, and then I'm just going to brush that on. And that's going on so much better, so much easier, so much smoother. Hopefully you can see that. The opacity, that is how dark it is, how hard it is to see through, basically. That's your opacity of the paint from the extra opaque is helping to get that coverage that we wanted. Alright? The size and shape of the shoulder joint, the shoulder recess on the body itself, will help keep the paint rub to a minimum anyway. Okay? Not completely done away with, but to a minimum. And again, that's all we really need to ask for. Yes, those are gunshots. We live in the country out here. It's nothing unusual to hear gunshots. It's that time of year, hunting season. Somebody's probably teaching their kid on the new gun or something. It happens. If you guys could see my body right now, I probably have 12 ladybugs crawling all over me. And they're not poisonous or anything, so I'm not freaking out. But all I can do is keep hoping and praying they don't start landing on swordsmen here, and especially not in the wet paint. Alright, so we're at that point now where they're starting to get annoying. Because yes, they are starting to climb on the figure. So I gotta speed it up a little bit, I guess. Alright. Trying to keep a good angle so that you guys can see this on the camera. Not the easiest trick, I admit it. I kind of look at this and wish that I had had an extra Wonder Man body to be able to use to take the arms from. Or maybe a Ninja Wolverine or something like that. That probably would have done the trick too. But if wishes were fishes, the world would be fed, so oh well. I just gotta keep on moving. Alright. Now, it's a nice, bright, sunny day, really windy outside. And I think that's playing another role in helping these ladybugs find me to land on. But it's also, and then more importantly, it's helping to keep my paint drying pretty fast. Alright? So, as you can see, I'm not doing anything that's taking a lot of skill to get these base colors in place. I'm just keeping the wet paint moving. Right? And this takes no real serious concentration other than to avoid getting this brown tannish color all over the blue area that's already painted, which would suck. And trying to keep ladybugs out of my eyes and stuff like that matters. These guys really are obnoxious. Somewhere I'm sure somebody believes ladybugs are just super good luck, but let me tell you, one of those devils makes me mess up this paint job, I would not be considering that good fortune, that's for sure. Yeah, looks like they really did just disturb a really bad nest or something of all these ladybugs, because I mean, honestly, I don't know how much you guys can see these things flying around on the camera right now, but there's probably 400 ladybugs circling around on the porch. Between the porch, my mouth, climbing in my hair, they're on my arms. I mean, these things they're just out of control. I wish there was a Ghostbusters for ladybugs. And now I gotta watch out because I'm getting some wasps starting to come around, and they are definitely not okay. Ladybugs in the eyes. Come on, guys. All right. Some days, some days. All right. I almost wish I could start over, but I can't. So we're gonna work through the ladybugs, and we're gonna finish this. Okay, so while I'm letting that dry off a little bit, my rinse water has ladybugs in it now. I'm looking at the front yard and the side yard around here, and just looking at all these things flying, and it is just, this is like a biblical plague level of bugs. And all I can say is thank God they do not bite, because my goodness, I would be a dead man right now. Okay. Anyway, the worst part is now I'm going to go back in the house and I'm going to be transporting these little devils inside with me, because, you know, I can't possibly see all the places on my body where they are. Alright, we're going to move it up a notch. We're going to break out the dwarf skin, and in that same spot where I had used to thin it, we're going to put a few drops of dwarf skin. Now, we're going to mix in just a little bit of the heavy skin tone and skin wash with that. Just enough to create a little bit more warmth of color, which is a more realistic skin color. Alright, so you see? Hopefully you're able to see that. Looks like a storm is brewing out here, and so the clouds are definitely playing some games on my lighting. But basically using a dry brush motion, very soft, very gentle, and I'm going to play with the lines of the muscles here. And I'm doing this in such a way, and I'm doing that off camera, sorry about that, so as to make sure that I maintain some more of the shadowing without obscuring it all. Now, this is because I'm not doing the dry brushing, just the dry brush type motion. I'm actually looking to get coverage out of this, so I want to get in there and keep that brush moving. But I'm just using nice, soft contacts and keeping moving. Now, I am hitting the edges of his tunic, so I'm going to have to go back and touch that up and paint over it, which is the only way I can fix that at this stage. Now that I've got my coverage going, I can actually start dry brushing with my brush here. And what this is going to do for us is let those muscle striations show up a little more easily. And what this is doing is it's creating again that illusion that I have done some kind of bizarre detailing paint job, but I didn't. I didn't do anything super special with it at all. You know, you're watching me. I'm using that dry brush method with a wet brush to get the paint onto the body. And while I'm doing that, I go back in, I hit it a little bit with some more wet paint. I rinse my brush a touch just to get some more wetness, to get better coverage for the other arm. And what this is going to do is, as you're watching it develop right before your eyes, you're seeing his skin start to appear. Now, I'll tell you what though, any of you guys that are ever looking at my work and you say, man, I would love to get a custom figure made, but I just don't have the money to buy a custom figure like that, I'll tell you, I am always willing to take jobs and trade for other figures, because customizing uses up a lot of pieces, you know. So if you've got figures that you're sitting on at home and you're thinking to yourself, man, I just don't need this extra Captain America, Daredevil, Iron Man, whoever, hit me up. Talk to me about what kind of customs that you're looking for, and I'm always willing to discuss something like that. All right. So when I wrap him up, I've got another figure that's a commission, and I'm going to show the way I'm going to do his skin is almost identical to this. All right. So some people prefer that solid color on the skin, like I talked about earlier with the blue. Some people just simply have that preference. They just don't like the color fades and details like that. To them, it just doesn't look right because they want that 4-color comic book look. I, on the other hand, don't. I like when my figures have realistic skin tones that look like there's a chance that figure could get up and walk off your shelf at any moment. Of course, we don't want the figure to actually do that, but I like when it looks like that. Ladybugs. Just determined that they're going to use my hand and my hair and my shirt, my ears, my pants legs. They're just simply not going to give it up. Alright, so hopefully you can see there's a color difference between the skin and the face right now. So to get this face where I want it, I'm going to do the dry brushing type effect downward on the face. And the reason that this is going to work is that the face is where you need those shadows at the most, okay? The face is the shadows tell us how the muscles have wrapped around your face, and that's what gives your face its own unique look compared to everybody else in the world. The way your bone structure is, all of it. And those shadows help make your face recognizable to everybody else. So when we get in here, alright, now I started off doing the dry brush type stroke. Decided after looking at it, I wasn't really liking that. So I went a slightly different route. Went ahead and just went in with a wet brush. So now I'm going to detail paint under his eyes a little bit here, because under his mask you should be able to see his eyes. Now, I got paint in there in a way I didn't really want to, but the good thing is that using this process, I'm getting to build my colors. So the more I layer my paint in, the more opportunities I get to fix something I don't like later. By keeping my paint thin like milk, I don't have to worry about the layers hindering articulation too much. And that's really what the problem is when it comes to your paint. You know, that's what joint rub is all about, is those layered colors. So this dry brush motion here, excuse me, is just to get that that last level of color on the skin. Now, with this milky consistency for my final coat, I'm building my highlights right now. All right. Because it's making it so that you can still kind of see through it. And skin is see-through. Excuse me again. I'm going to set him down and let him do his dry off. So now this guy here is a commission for another gentleman. And it's his own original character. He sent me the description and then basically gave me free artistic control to design it however I wanted to, as long as I followed his basic concept. So I showed him what we're looking at yesterday with him assembled but not painted yet. So I've primered the body. I have prepped him so that there's no chance of paint rub other than on the gloves, and the way I'm doing this, even that can't be a problem when it's done. So the character's basic costume is just black with a half mask over his face, but he's bald headed. So we've taken a bullseye head, sanded off the bullseye target from the forehead. I've sculpted on the little half mask over the mouth and cheeks and stuff. And now we're going to apply the base coat. Again, we're just going to use simple brush strokes in, just covering the skin. And as this dries, it's going to create that base coat so that when I put the skin over top of it, the skin isn't going to look unnatural. Okay? As I talked about in the last video, the way skin works, the way light works and color works, is it's going to try and reflect whatever is underneath it through whatever's over top of it. So skin painted onto a black primer looks darker than skin painted onto a brown base coat, which looks darker than skin painted onto a white base coat. Alright? It's simply true. This is the way light works. Now, some of this milky consistency is going to pool up in places. Some of it is just going to run off to those places. You know? Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's functional. Now,